it was good to come in here on a Sunday after a victory and hard-fought victory where you felt like you hit on all cylinders, really in all three phases. That you didn't mess the game up, you didn't shoot yourself in the foot, and got a win. I think it's a great lesson for our guys. Being that it's Thanksgiving week, happy Thanksgiving to everybody out here. I can say this: I'm grateful and thankful for the guys in this room with the attitude they have every day when they come to work, whether it's after a win or after a loss. I feel blessed to be able to get to coach these guys every day. The attitude, the persistence, going through adversity, and these guys just keep coming back for more and trying to get it right. And again, same thing with the coaches, just trying to get it right. So I appreciate them. When you look at just the game, not a whole lot more details to give you that I didn't feel after the game. Anytime you outrush your opponent, and again, BC was the number one rush offense going into the weekend in the ACC, and we were able to really contain them pretty good for as good as they are. I think we outrushed them. We rushed the ball, so when you run the ball and you stop the run, you got a chance to win. So I was happy about that. The turnover ratio, we won. Got a couple on defense and didn't give the ball away, which gives you a chance to win. So on to before we get into Duke, just make an announcement that Gavin Bartholomew and Devin Danielson are out for the year. Obviously, it's one more game left, but both will be not with us this weekend as well, as far as that goes. And sad to see, for both those guys. Obviously, with Danielson being such a tough dude, he's never hurt, and he never thought his senior year, his sixth year, would end like it did. And Gavin obviously lost a major weapon, and Carter Johnson and Epps have really stepped up in his presence the last 2 weeks. So I'm happy for where they are, but play a really good Duke team this weekend. On the road. We need to try to go down on the road and try to replicate what we did this week with the details that we did. But Mike Elko does a heck of a job, one of the hotter names in college football right now, all over the place. And he's a great football coach. He's a defensive guy. So they're strong on defense. Kevin Johns is our OC, who goes back a long way back to, he was at Northwestern when I was a linebacker coach at Northern Illinois. He was at Northwestern for a long time, Indiana. So we played him, I don't know how many times, a bunch of times. So it'll be round number 2 with his offense, and he does a great job offensively, really smart, detailed, and he knows how to attack you. So we'll have to be ready for that. So questions?
Nate, when you look back at Nate's performance, not sure you had time to review the film. It seemed like at least there were several times where he didn't just take the primary option. He was able to go through his progressions and find better options. How much of that is also credit to your offensive line protecting better his passing?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of both. Sometimes it depends on who you're playing against. But the O-line, 0 sacks, compared to our 7 sacks. It's another thing that bounces off the piece of paper as far as what we did in the videotape. But Nate Yarnell's a guy that can go through his progressions, just like all those guys in those room, in that quarterback room. They can go through the progression, not just looking at one way, and if it's not there, take off and run. And they've got to be able to go through a progression to get on the field. So that doesn't shock me at all. He's as smart as you're going to find in that room.
When we've asked you about quarterbacks this year, you've always made it a point to mention Nate's name. Like, don't forget about him. What did you see, leading up to that game that you liked from him?
Well, we've liked it you like it all the time, and sometimes as coaches, you just you're kind of maybe looking at the most talented guy, but mentally, Nate is as talented as anybody in that room, probably the most talented guy mentally. Like I said a year ago when we took him off that scout field, he wasn't sitting in a room being quiet, not paying attention, and all of a sudden, oh my gosh, it's my turn. He was prepared, and that's who he is. So, it didn't shock me at all that Nate did what he did.
What are the expectations for Nate going into Saturday and building off of what he was able to do against Boston College?
Well, he's got to go out and do it all over again, because nobody cares what you did last week against BC. I think that's the first thing is, let that last one go and now focus on the next one. What do you have to do to win this game? What do you got to do to be, successful as a quarterback and as an offense? And Nate's running the show, and he just needs to go out and do what he does. And again, I think he's that type of guy that will just go out and do what he needs to do to win the game. He'll be mentally and physically prepared.
How much of Nate's value as a quarterback pertains to just his ability to protect the football and not turn it over?
That's any quarterback. I don't care if it's Nate or but again, you knock on wood. He did it 1 week, and you got to do it 2 weeks. So it's about consistency and being able to repeat what you did. And I think that's the important thing. So we got to go out and do that because you're playing against a good Duke team that'll do a good job game planning and seeing the whole game on Nate, and then we'll find out what he's got. He's got to continue to get better. He can't stay the same.
Calendar being like it is, how soon do you start your self-scouting and your season evaluation once the game's over?
We'll get, first thing we'll get into is recruiting. So we're going to, hit the road. What'd you do to your wrist? You got banged up? No, I don't want to hear
We
it.
don't talk
Later.
about it.
We don't talk about it. Fact. Nice, Jerry. Nice. You learned something. We ain't talking about that. Your wife kicked your rear end. Good for her. I love it. What was the question? I'm sorry. I forget too. That was a good one, Jerry.
What is about your
it was your turn.
postseason evaluation?
Yeah, little by little we'll get that. But the first thing is the signing date's up in December, and we'll work towards that. But as coaches, we're evaluating every day, and that never stops.
To further that, when you look at your staff, how much do you evaluate with their performance based on one season versus their body of work with this program?
Well, I think you're always looking at the body, but you're looking at the present. I mean, to me, the present is the best indicator. So you got to look at what we did right now, and I think and again, what you did with what you have, and I think that's always what you look at.
Obviously, the players are going to respond to the quarterbacks who lead them to victory. I mean, that's going to be the biggest thing. But did you notice anything different with the players on offense and Nate, given that he's been around for a few years, they've known him for, this is his third year here now. Did you notice him sort of responding differently to him?
I didn't notice it. Maybe you guys noticed it on the sideline. I'm going to look back there to see what they do. I think our team has done a nice job responding to anybody that's been in that position to be the starting quarterback. I think I didn't feel or see anything different as far as what they were doing for one guy and they won't do it for somebody else. I don't see that at all. I see support. I see our team saying, okay, that's who's got it, and I'm going to support him. I think that's what I feel weekly. But so that's what I got. Sorry, probably not what you want to hear, but that's what I see.
How do you like your quarterback group going?
If you were in it, if you didn't have that thing, you look like Joe Burrow over here with the wrist thing. I like it right now, but again, that can change quickly, and again, you look at Christian's a really good quarterback that's talented. And, we'll continue to work with him, and obviously Nate had a heck of a weekend, and we want him to have another great weekend to back that up.
How do you treat this game any differently?
Diefenbach, don't forget
Sorry,
about it.
knowing that you're not going to have the whatever 10, 15 extra days to prepare for a bowl game like you have traditionally had since you got here. Do you treat this game any differently in terms of giving guys whose red shirts are going to be protected looks or anything like that?
Well, I mean, Izzy got in last week, Polk, that is. Not to get confused with that other Izzy we had a year ago. So we'll get guys in, but just based on, what they've done in practice, it's not a, hey, let's play as many guys as we can to see what they got. That's not, we're trying to win a football game, and it always comes down to winning and who gives us the best chance to win. We're going to play those guys, and we do lose those bowl practices. We'll miss those kind of, but sometimes I think they're overrated too. Yep.
I was saying, Pat, last year, Keaton found out about Phil, and then subsequently, pulled out ahead of the bowl game. You guys often have to make quick determinations at the end of the season about future plans, transfer portal, coaching decisions. What's the pressure to do that as soon as you guys finish your noon kickoff game against Duke, and quickly getting that turnaround to set up what you have to do for recruiting?
The first thing we do, is Monday through Thursday, we'll sit down with every player on our team. I'm not sure I'll sit down with every one of them. I'll sit down with most of them, as many as I can. But our coaches will sit down by position with each one of their players. And again, it's a good time for player evaluation to find out where they are, what they're thinking, and what we can do better.
Deion said after the game that he intends to come back next year. Have you had some of those conversations with guys like him?
No, my kids told me that after the game. I was like, oh, good. I didn't know that. I expected Deion to come back, and he had a heck of a game. And he's a super kid that just keeps getting better. He's still baby. Everybody'd like him to grow up faster than he is. He's going to be really good in any other year. He had spurts a year ago when he did get in there. And then, just consistency. all the time. But no, I haven't had. We're trying to win a football game. We got a lot of other things in our mind. We're not making and having those conversations. Just not there. That'll be next week.
On those individual meetings you have with the players, I mean, what do those conversations look like? Is it just, are you honest in the sense where if the guy you feel like might not have an opportunity to play here next year, would you encourage someone to go into the portal?
Yeah, we've done that before. I mean, yeah, we're gonna, if guys that, want to play. I mean, a lot of guys want to play, and you guys, we got to talk about Duke today or what? Jerry's injury, that'll be the big thing on the ticker tonight on ESPN. We'll have those conversations based on who they are and what they've done for the program, period.
Pat, talking about the quarterback room, you have a guy redshirting that's kind of learning, sitting back, Ty Diefenbach. What have you seen from him this season? How has he grown from week 1 to now?
Yeah, well, no one really knew. He had an injury early in camp. You guys may have seen that out there on practice. I appreciate you guys not saying anything. But he got a little collarbone deal early. He came back quickly, so he's a fast healer. That's good to know. He's done a great job. I mean, we've got a lot of past skellies. He hadn't gone live, but we've been excited about his mental preparation and what he's done in that room. He's athletic. He can run. He can throw. He can think. He's just another guy that we're excited about.
What about Duke, scouting Duke?
Hey.
What has made him successful this year?
You know what? Again, obviously, I think anytime you look at a successful team, you better play good defense, and they've played good defense. They're tough. I mean, the D tackle they got in there, Dwayne Carter, number 90. You'll see number 90 on Saturday at noon. We got noon kickoff. Forgot to mention that. But Dwayne Carter is a man up front. He's a house wrecker in there. He's a guy we got to control and know where he's at and get two bodies on him at times. He'll spin and make moves. So it starts with them. They got a good linebacker core. So defensively, they are what they've been. And then they had some injuries at quarterback, so they a little bit hampered by that 2 different times where Riley has gotten banged up. So, but it's a rush game. I mean, they're one of the top rush teams in the conference as well. So they like to run the ball. They know how to run the ball, and they will mix it up. They got 3 really good receivers that they'll get the ball to, so they mix it up and they do a good job scheming you. That's what I'd say.
Will you be preparing for 2 quarterbacks this week?
Which 2?
Do you think Leonard's going to play?
I don't know. I don't know. I'm not down in their camp. I don't have any cameras on their practices or signals or anything like that, so I don't know.
We know like Grace. What is he showing us?
He's a composed young guy that throws the ball well. He's making good decisions. He's got all kinds of signals that he's making to his receivers and running backs. So for a young guy, he's gotten better and better every game. I think his first start was maybe Wake, and his numbers weren't good. But as you watch it, he's grown each game, and I think this will be his 4th start. So he's gone through the learning process as well.
And you mentioned that Dan's taken some steps. How close is he to being that consistent player that you think he can be?
Sorry, who's that?
Dayon Hayes.
Dayon. He's really close. I mean, it's just being consistent every day, consistent in your life, consistent in what you put on the practice field every single day. And again, everybody matures at a different level, but he's highly talented. It's just putting in the work. And I just got done texting him here, half hour ago, just about do it again this week, stack another week on top of it, because he can take over a game if he puts his mind to it. So it's just being laser focused, which is hard nowadays. You jump on Twitter, you do this, look at that, and can get off track. But he will put it together just like all our guys at defensive end have through the years.
Pat, can this game set any sort of tone for your offseason?
Certainly. I mean, I think end of the season with a win, and finishing with 2 wins certainly would do it. Nobody's, we certainly don't have the record or set the standard of what we want to do, but it's how you finish, and it's not really how you start or how you were midway through. But I think how you finish, I think, is important. So that's how we want to finish.
You see the team just as engaged last night as normal Sunday?
Yeah, probably more engaged, right? I think it's easier after a win, but yeah, I mean, they're engaged. Just like I said, mentioned earlier about being thankful for the way they come in this room and work every day. That's how I feel. They'll be ready to go, just like they are every week. But we got to be focused and we got to play 60 minutes. I'll make sure that I say, please, 60 minutes, please. If I got to beg, it doesn't matter what it takes, Larry. You know what I'm saying?
Pat, when you look at the game that Rodney had on, Thursday night, I mean, I think probably if you thought it back in September, that might have been a more regular occurrence. Does the philosophy at that position need to change a little bit? Because it seems to be you guys are always sort of looking for a guy. Maybe when they don't separate it, nobody ever really gets any momentum because their opportunities are limited.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Duke, they play 3 different tailbacks, and they've all got pretty good success in the running the ball. I mean, you got to kind of go with the hot hand. And, when you have a 15-play drive, as I told the guys last night, you get to mix things up and you get to get guys going. When you're losing the time possession, which we still lost, again, I might add, by 9 minutes and 48 seconds, and we've had that discussion here the last few weeks about not winning the time possession. But when you lose it, you don't get to run many plays, and you're running 46 plays in a game. I mean, how many reps and how many times can you establish a run game with 46 plays? And when you're down, when you're in a ball game, in a 7-point, 3-point ball game, you can afford to run the ball. You're not playing catch up against a Notre Dame or whoever else it is. So, Rodney is certainly capable of those types of days. But you need those guys in front of him blocking as well. So it's a team deal. And again, got confidence both Rodney and Sebo to make those explosive gains.
How much does Nate's success help set that up, though? Like the second play you guys have, he has that play action pass, it's Malcolm over the middle, and it kind of victimizes the defense that took the steps up. Did you see on tape that once Nate hit a few of those, it slowed maybe the aggression of Boston College's defense? I
think so. I mean, you don't see the aggression slow down, but I think anytime you can be two-dimensional and you can run the ball and throw the ball, and you can have some success doing both of those, you're obviously in control, and you're not going, oh gosh, what are we going to do now? So when you're having a little bit of success and you continue to try to pound the ball and get what you can get, whether it's 3 yards and just have patience with it, it can happen. But you have to have those plays, and we're still not winning the time possession, but you have to have those plays where you're having opportunities to call more of them. I mean, we like to have 80 plays a game. Imagine how many carries guys would get and opportunities they'd have. So, that 15-play drive was one of those where, we got a lot of people involved.
Maybe tackle numbers can be deceiving, but what kind of impact has Donovan had with you guys in the secondary?
He's been really good. He's been, I wouldn't say a surprise because that's what we thought we had. I probably mentioned that before, but Donovan's been a big-time player for us. He makes a lot of plays. He's a guy you trust to make the tackle at that boundary position. It's not unusual for a guy like a Brandon Hill or him to have those types of numbers. There's a lot of things based on our scheme that we're spilling to him, depending on the formation, the run concept, whether it's a counter, it's a truck play, whatever it is. That guy, it's going to trickle down to him, and he's got to be in the right spots. And we've seen guys in bad spots. He puts himself in a position to make plays because of all the details he does. As the ball snapped.
We had 7 total penalties last 2 games. Was that more of a point of emphasis going into the Syracuse game?
I wish I could tell you, Jerry. I mean, I think I mentioned, you guys asked me after the press conference. I wish I could tell you I did something different, but we focus on it all the time, and some days you figure it out, and some days you don't. There's still some things that amaze me. When I look at the tape and I see what's called, what's not called. We won't get into that, Jerry, but when you focus on it, good things happen.
Was there an element of frustration after the win, just seeing how your team played? Not a lot of penalties, didn't turn the ball over, took the ball away, ran the football. I mean, that's how you designed.
Yeah.
Is there an element of frustration?
I wouldn't say frustration, but you're going to look back and I think everybody in this room will look back after the year and say, what if? What if I'd have got it, figured out earlier? And that's frustrating. Like, and again, we say the same thing as coaches. Why couldn't we do that before? Why didn't we as coaches and players do that before? How come it took us so long to figure out that, this is a recipe for success? And, you're always going to have regrets as a coach, and you're going to look back and, I don't know, frustration. You can't look back and get mad and frustrated this week because, but it's like you're going to look back and, in another month, we'll be looking at ourselves like, why aren't we still playing? Why aren't we playing sometime at the end of December? And that'll be frustrating.
What was your relationship like with Duke's head coach Mike Elko, and how important has he been for turning around that program in such a short amount of time?
You know, that's a great question. Talking Duke, appreciate the question. You know, Mike Elko's done a heck of a job. And you know, what do I see? You know, and again, Cutcliffe did a heck of a job there in the past. You know, offensive guru and Cutcliffe. But the one thing I've noticed, you know, again, their offense is no better than it was when Cut was there. Defensively, they were aggressive and all that. So I don't want to talk about X and O's, but I think it's that first word on the board over there. If I had to say, you know, what is Mike Elko? It's attitude. I think he's gotten to play with some grit. You know, for whatever reason, sometimes a coaching change gets that for you. But I just see a tougher team. When I walked off the field last year, I said, this team is different, okay? You know, are they more talented? You know, I'd say they're the same, you know, just like everybody. But you know, I give Mike Elko a lot of credit for the attitude and what he's done, you know, to change maybe, you know, what people think about Duke or who they're supposed to be. I think they're tough. I think they'll get after it. And I felt that last year, that they play with an edge and chip on their shoulder, and that's what I noticed last year coming off that field, forgetting the X and O's, because they got great coaches, of course, but I felt an edge out of that football team. Like we like to play.
I've heard from a lot of coaches recently that say they want the in-helmet communication that they have in the NFL to come to college football. Where do you stand on that?
I think it's a great question. I appreciate that question, and no one's asked me yet, but I think it's good. I think it would eliminate some of the signal stealing that we've had throughout the country. You know, it's been a hot topic, that no one can see what you're saying, even unless they start reading lips, but that's when everybody's going to go like this, and you can't read my lips either. But there's a lot of that going on. It's not just, you know, in one place. There's a lot of it going on, and it's been going on for years, so I think it'd be great. They got to find a way to use it. You know, to me, as a defensive guy, I get scared that offenses will go even faster, because they can tell the quarterback immediately what's going on. I could care less about signals. We try to just play football here at Pitt, so we don't steal signals. We're not into any of that. And again, I can't figure out how you'd use it on defense anyway. You know, I think offensively they'll go faster, okay? And I think offense dictates the tempo of the game. I think defensively, I think you know, how can I have one guy, you know, like in the NFL, one guy that's got the mic, and now everybody's going to look at him. How's he going to tell those corners what the defense is? He can probably talk to the D lineman, you know, the safeties. It's hard for him to tell everybody what the defense is. It's easier for a quarterback to do that. And again, I would imagine maybe, you know, the receivers are always looking over there, you know, for the signals. So they, you know, it'll be interesting to see how the postseason, because I would imagine there's going to be a lot of talk about this, and I think in the bowl games they're talking about using it. I don't know how they're going to use it. There's got to be an agreement by both teams to possibly use it. But I think a way to correct all that is, you know, let the quarterback have a mic, let the mic linebacker have a mic. You got a 40-second clock. You can't snap the ball until, you know, 10 seconds or 15 seconds come off the clock. Eliminates the fast tempo. And again, a mic linebacker can get in the huddle and can tell everybody what's going on. Now we know there's no stealing anything, and that you can have real football the way it should be played. To me, if they did that, they put it, you know, you can't snap the ball until 25 seconds or whatever it is. I think that would be a great way of doing it. You guys can push that in the AP, put that out there on the wire. Let's bring up a new idea. But, you know, that's, to me, the only way it will really work in college football, because you can't have 5 or 6 microphones going. I mean, you can't have something in everybody's helmet. I just think that's chaos. It'd be nice if everybody could, you know, hear the call. That'd be great on defense. We, you know, if 11 guys, you know, we have to have 22 or 30 guys on offense and defense. That's a lot of mics, okay? And you know, I just don't think that's. And then someone's mic's going to go out. I didn't get the call, timeout. But I think, hey, huddle up, okay? You got 15 seconds to huddle, get your call in, make it fair, and then play ball.
Doesn't that hurt the teams that like to do tempo though? They have to wait.
You go tempo, 15 seconds. I mean, most people snap the ball in, you know, 16 seconds. That's a pretty fast tempo. I can give you the numbers even laying on my desk, you know, how Duke snaps the ball, even the tempo teams. I mean, it would slow down, you know, Tennessee for sure. But there's nothing wrong with that. It's when guys get hurt anyway when they go too fast.